Welcome to Business Decoded with Ronnie Spellman. We crack the code so you don't have to.
Welcome to the Business Decoded podcast with Ronnie Spellman. I'm here with Matt Teifke. Matt, how are you?
I'm great, man. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
You're the partner at TR3 Capital, but you're a real estate guy. So I'm excited to talk to you. I learned about you. We've become good friends just in the past few weeks. You've been traveling all over the country, working deals. You were in Florida recently, in New York, and now you're in Ohio, but you're originally from Texas. What's the connection to Ohio?
Family, man. My grandpa, he actually played for the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Okay.
And my mom and dad, both their families were from Ohio, and I have a lot of uncles and aunts that still live here. I was actually born in Cleveland, but I moved to Round Rock, Texas when I was 3 years old.
Right.
And so what happened was my uncle moved to Austin to basically restart what my grandpa had created, which was an asphalt and paving business. And half the siblings left and half stayed here. So we got half in Ohio and half in Texas.
Well, I want to set this up before we move into it because your family sounds like they come from an entrepreneurial background. And you're an entrepreneur. You started really young in building your real estate empire, but you're a major player in real estate. And I'd love for you to tell me about what you've created. You have several businesses in the real estate market. And then we have a unique connection that we'll talk about later. But you're actually a huge fan of Trammell Crow. And a lot of people might not know him like the Hilton family or the Marriott family, but he's there it is. He's a major player in real estate that I think every person should know. When you look at the evolution of the United States and people that have impacted the country from a business perspective, he should be up there at the top of the list. Trammell Crow should be. But we'll talk about that later because you have a unique connection and how you've implemented that into your business. But tell me about your companies and how you started it. For all those people listening and want to understand how to become an entrepreneur, you're that guy. So how'd you get started?
Man, my mom.
Okay.
So my mom was one of the ones that moved to Texas to work with my uncle. But when he was getting started, it was slow. He was doing asphalt and paving, and it was just him, doing the work himself.
Right.
So my mom was a single mom, and I remember she was cleaning houses. I remember being at houses that she was cleaning when I was a little kid. And when I was all through growing up, she got into real estate. And she would just buy a house, another house, 2 houses, 3 houses. And she was saving up all of her money. She'd save up $20,000, $30,000.
And she was doing that. She was doing that as a single mom with you.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
Me and one brother. And we're wild boys, and we played all the sports. Like, we never lacked for, going to baseball tournaments or anything.
Nice.
And by the time I was 16, I think she had 17 houses.
Oh, gosh.
So
Okay.
she's just a very, very hard worker, and, talk about the American dream. And to me, it's like, if she can do it, anybody can do it.
Right.
To be a single mom, to have 2 boys, she worked a full-time job, and she made a lot of sacrifices. But that's what I grew up around, man. And I was really inspired. And even right now, she's been on the phone all day, every day. And I'm like, that's me, man. I got that from her. And there's good and bad to it, but
That's amazing.
I was really blessed to see what's possible and also what it looks like. I mean, when she had these houses, it didn't mean that she was retired. Like, we still had the taxes and the insurance and the maintenance. And so it was still a 20, 30-year play with everything
Wow.
she was doing.
You need to do a favor for your mom one day and write a book about her. That's an incredible story to manage it with 2 very active boys as a single mom in a relatively new place, moving from Ohio to Texas and just finding her way and not giving up and just being consistent and driven. And, sometimes that responsibility of having 2 kids is what keeps you focused because you know that you have to produce and make sure you care for those kids to make it happen and give them a decent place and to keep them active in the sports like you mentioned. But you have to write a book on mom one day.
That's a great idea, man. I'm glad that you mentioned that.
So when did you transition to having your own real estate, and like about what age did that happen for you?
So I was growing up working on the houses, just, I'd be tearing out floors and stuff like that. And right when I got out of high school, I just wanted to get into real estate. And so I told my mom, I'm not going to college. I'm getting into real estate. And you know what she said? She said, you know, you're not. She said, if you do that, she said, I'm cutting you off. And, you know, I'm just, I don't know, 18, you know, got no money. And, you know, she's willing to thank God she's willing to pay for my college and, you know, pay for my living. I had to get a job, but I'm like, all right, I'm going to college. And
Okay.
so I still ended up getting my real estate license my sophomore year of college.
Okay.
And I was just really hyper focused on, you know, being the first one in the office, the last one out. I really wanted to ask a lot of great questions to anybody that would mentor me. And I just started, you know, with a very long-term viewpoint of I want to be an investor and I want to own real estate, but I think it would be wise to learn how people buy and sell houses and why they buy and sell houses and leasing. And so I just wanted to be a real estate agent and start from what I saw like the bottom of the stairs and just, you know, step my way up over time.
So Matt, you received your real estate license as a sophomore, but when did you mentioned the office being the first one in and the last one out. Was that while you were in college or was that after you finished college?
That was in college.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I was you know, that same work ethic that my mom had, like I took it to the extreme and I was taking 18 hours in college and I ended up getting the rookie of the year realtor. And, you know,
Wow.
that's competing with people that are full time.
Sure.
And I was just hooked, man. You know, I was dressing in a suit and tie, even as a realtor. And I asked 100 questions and that's all I thought about was, and that's how I stumbled upon, you know, some of these guys that I study and look up to. Is just like, I was like, I want to be great at this.
You know, that's a unique space, whether it's in sports or even in business, but to recognize that you've got to work super hard. And I've said this for a long time, sometimes it doesn't take being the smartest, but you can be the absolute smartest and most prepared in the room because you've done your homework and you've worked at it. And so when you're there and you're negotiating a deal or you're trying to build a business, it's that homework that counts, isn't it? Just that preparation.
Absolutely, man. And that's, you know, I study, I just like entrepreneurs. I mean, even, you know, Kobe Bryant, I read a story about he would study how sharks would attack their prey in Australia to learn like how to be a better defensive basketball player. And I'm like,
Right.
man, what a wild, you know, it's cool to be an entrepreneur. You absolutely have to work hard. You gotta show up and be consistent. But man, we're so blessed to be able to think outside the box and create and to try things. Like
Right.
that's why I want to be an entrepreneur. Is like I don't really want to just do the same thing all day, every day. I want to be able to take risks and create things. And it's such a beautiful thing when, you know, whether it works or it doesn't, at least we get to do it.
Right. You know, it's interesting you brought up Kobe. I lived out for a while in Southern California, not far from him. His wife and daughters went to a gym that my daughters went to, but he was a super smart guy, not just an athlete and basketball guy. His father played basketball, but he lived abroad. He spoke multiple languages, just a super smart, but it's that understanding of the world around you, whether it's sharks or something else, that really helps you to focus and find your own path to success, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, I could talk about Kobe as much as anything, and he's my favorite player, man, of all time.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay. How did that happen? If we don't diverge, because I think there's a parallel, by the way, between sports and business, but why is he your favorite?
he was just so locked in. You know,
Right.
I obviously he had natural God-given talent and everything, but I don't think he had the most talent out of everybody. I just think he outworked everybody.
He did. And exactly. And that's my whole point, is outworking everyone. I totally agree with you. And so that's what you're doing today, is outworking everyone.
Yeah, I try to work as hard as I can, and you know, I think all of us have different things that we can pass on to people. Like I don't want to be exactly like Kobe, but I respect him.
Right.
You know, like I mean, I remember hearing something about he was talking about he wouldn't pass the ball to players that he didn't respect.
Right.
He's like, I'm not giving you the ball. He just took it to the extreme. And I think there's something cool to learn from that, but we all got to be our own person. And that's what I think I really like about studying these other, you know, people that are locked in and focus is there's something to take, and then we put our own spin on it the best way we can.
Now, you were outperforming as a part-time real estate person, outperforming those that were full-time while you were in college. After you graduated, then you went full-time in the real estate business and you worked for another agency, I presume, right?
Well, so I ended up getting my master's degree from Texas A&M.
Okay.
And I think that for my story is kind of interesting because I couldn't get into A&M out of high school with
Right.
my grades, but I went to A&M Corpus Christi. But the fact that I had like, when I got accepted, it was a really big deal for me. I didn't know if I was going to be accepted, but I'm going to school and like, man, like these guys are way smarter than me, right? Like there's like top notch, minds, accounting, finance. But what I had was a whole different world experience than they did.
Right.
Because I had sold, 30 houses and I had bought a couple and I was, at the time I was managing properties for other people.
Gosh.
And so
While you were in grad school.
while I was in grad school, yeah.
Impressive.
And so I'm doing all this stuff and like, it's just a completely different perspective than they had.
Right.
But it was really hard for me to get through that program. Like I had to stay after every day and, for lack of a better word, like I just felt dumb a lot of times. I'm like,
Right.
I want to, I care, I'm here, I'm not thinking about anything else, but like my brain is not gathering this stuff the way that they are. But man, I actually did really good. Like because I tried so hard, like my GPA was, I think like 3.7.
Nice.
But I was just hyper focused on it.
Yeah. And that's an interesting point for those people that are looking to get into entrepreneurship or even build their careers in a business. Sometimes it might not click per se the same way you might want it to academically, but you had a unique perspective having had that experience already. When I entered college, I'd already worked in engineering. And so all of my engineering friends were trying to figure out what engineering meant. But I worked in an environment. It was a big company, a big global company in engineering. And then I went to school after working that first summer before school started. And it was just a different perspective. But you're right. Again, it's not like from an academic perspective, I wasn't the quickest or the sharpest, but I was definitely, again, as we mentioned earlier, very well prepared. But I understood the practical side. It wasn't just the academic piece any longer for me. And it sounds like that's what you had. You probably had a disconnect learning these principles and you're thinking, wait a second, that's not exactly how it works in the real world. Just trying to map the two between understanding the academic piece and your practical side.
Yeah, I think so. And, it's a whole nother topic, but like teaching and how you teach and how people relate, like it just wasn't the way I understood it.
Right.
But then when I got it, I got it. Like I remember
Exactly. Yeah.
like accounting was very foreign to me.
Right.
And then I was like perfect. Like I got like 9900 and I'm like,
Nice.
I love accounting. But now because it's not something I think about or focus on, like I would be so confused starting out
Right.
again. But it's like something we got to figure out how to make it click. And I tried to lean into having that experience. Like, it's like, okay, I don't understand it this way, but I understand it this way. And I would try to bring that to the table. And that was actually bringing a lot of value in different ways.
That's cool. Especially in those class discussions, right? Were you the guy they went to when they wanted to know how it actually worked in some ways? Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah. Man, I remember I was managing 4 fourplexes for a firefighter. And like, it was just such a different experience. I mean, I was just doing it on Excel spreadsheets and this guy took a chance on me and I was making like $2,000-$3,000 a month just managing properties for this guy. And like, I would take cause what I did at A&M was very heavy spreadsheets and financial analysis. And so I would take that management and I'd plug it into the spreadsheets that we were doing. And he's like I was showing him what his internal rate of return was on his investment properties.
Right. How did you get connected to that person? You said he took an opportunity on you. He gave you a chance, the firefighter. How did the two of you end up connecting?
I found him on Craigslist.
You're kidding me.
Yeah.
Okay.
I used to put posts up there, property manager, looking for opportunities, and I would just connect with people and have real estate conversations.
Yeah. That's interesting. And he responded.
Yeah, he responded. He was a great guy, gave me a really big opportunity, and I just ran with it.
Now, are you still good friends with him today?
I am.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool how you can take a relationship completely unexpected and then nurture that into something very productive long term. It says a lot about your ability to build relationships, which is critical.
I agree, man. It's for me, that's really my big focus is people. And I did get that from Trammell.
Yes.
But man, I put a lot of I talk to everybody.
Right.
Like whether you're the, biggest developer in Austin or, a kid that's, maybe even on drugs or getting off of drugs. Like to me, everybody matters and it's a challenge. It's not always easy because I am trying to make things happen and make, progress. And I balance of because I'm a Christian and I do believe if I can bring Christ and show God to people, that's a very, very, that's probably the most important thing I can do.
Right.
But on the same time, it's we got to pay the bills, right?
Very true.
But I think that's one of my competitive advantages is everybody matters and I'm super consistent and long-term thinking.
Yes.
My wife's mom said this and I really cherish it and I hope that I can live up to it. But she said this to my wife about a month ago. She's like, you know what I love about Matt? He never gives up on anything or anyone.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, man, if that's what I can leave people with and that's what people say at my funeral, I'm good.
Wow. That's really special. Hey, so Matt, when you finished your master's program, when did you start your own business? I know you had the Craigslist, but at what point did you feel like you had your own business? It's interesting. I was talking to someone recently and he didn't recognize the point in which he started his own business because he was really young. He started out selling just products, kind of like the lemon stand concept, but he didn't connect the dot that was the moment he started his business. When do you think you officially started your business versus when you incorporated and had your official business?
I mean, really, it was when I was 18, man, because, I'm getting my license and I always knew this is my name, Matthew Teifke, right? Yes. And so it was always about building a brand and building a reputation and being somebody that people, can count on. And so in college, I was the TAMUCC realtor, and I had a YouTube channel and I was building my brand. But as far as kicking it to the next level is right when I graduated, my wife started managing my mom's houses. And so we had 18 houses and man, we got all the way up to 780 single family homes.
Wow. Wow. Okay. That's a lot of growth.
So she was doing that. And on the flip side for me, I was working at a real estate brokerage called Edge.
Okay.
And it was a really high-end commercial retail brokerage. And I was there for 3 years. I was learning a lot. I was around a lot of very sharp people, but I just knew that it wasn't me. I wasn't able to be entrepreneurial enough. They're at these commercial brokerages. They work from 9 to 5 and they're off on weekends. And they don't doing things that it's not right in their wheelhouse, which is fine and respectable. But, I slowly started untucking my shirt and dressing the way I wanted to. And I was making my way out.
It's interesting when you reach that point where you realize that you are an entrepreneur in your own spirit. It's just who you are. And so fitting into nothing wrong with 9 to 5, by the way. There's so many people, there's so many wonderful people working a traditional job. But for you individually, just to realize that you're not quite that person, that you've got to do something that explores and really releases your capabilities. It's a huge transition mentally, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it was tough, man. I really respected my guys. And, I also I didn't do as great of a job. I wanted to, but I just I remember going over my emails and making sure they were perfect and everything was spelled right. And I would still do something wrong. And it was I cared too much. And now I send it how I want and I say what I want and I rarely ever make any mistakes. But I just was I cared so much, but it wasn't me. Right. And it didn't work. But I remember telling my boss I was going to leave and I felt bad about it. I might even have cried. I don't remember. Because I felt like they put so much effort and time into me. And I didn't want to let them down, but I just couldn't do it.
So you're a business. You had the business in college and at 18, but you're Teifke Real Estate. So where is that now? What are you doing with that business? And then how did that lead you to TR3 Capital? So tell us about your business. What is it that you do in Austin and Texas for that part of your operation?
Yeah, so very real estate entrepreneurial mindset. My wife manages properties still. I own a real estate brokerage with my partner, Alex Kaufman, and we've got about 130 real estate agents. And
Wow.
the vision is, hey, come here and be an entrepreneur. Like
Okay.
help people buy and sell, but also invest and also manage and partner. And that's a very unique leadership and guidance from a brokerage perspective. A lot of brokerages want you to do one thing, just like
Right.
we were talking about. And then TR3 is our acquisition company. We buy as much as we can that, hits a good return and is long term. And so with that company, we bought right around 1,000 apartment units. And then back to the Trammell Crow vision that I'm drawn to is like I have different people that I've been mentoring. And so like there's one guy named Jake Sisk, and over the last 3 years, we bought $12 million of properties together.
Very cool.
And we bought like a 20 unit and a RV park in Arkansas, and we're buying an apartment right now in Cuero. And so I have these little one-off partnerships, and I try to like, hey, what's my value? What am I good at? I try to put that into place and not get caught up in other things with that partnership, because I'll slow them down and I'll let other people down.
Right.
And then I've got a RV guy and I buy RV parks, and I've got a retail guy and I buy retail buildings. And so TR3 is the core acquisition company. The brokerage is where everybody can come and be an entrepreneur. The management is our steady, consistent income, where my wife is handling mostly single family homes. And then I mentor and guide, and that leads to different properties and things that we're building with each. I got a guy that I'm mentoring that we're getting into the pool cleaning business. And he messaged me yesterday. We got our first pool. I'm like, let's go, brother.
I love it. Now, Matt, you said that really quick. You have 130 agents. That is incredible. That's impressive. How do you grow that, and where do you see that continuing to grow and expand? And my understanding is you have those agents throughout all of Texas, not just Austin, correct?
Correct. Most of them are in Austin, some in Houston, Dallas, San Antonio.
Yeah, I think I saw a few out in West Texas as well. Abilene area, is that right?
Yeah, we do actually. Yeah, I think one or two.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's impressive. Like you said, 130 really quick. It's not 2 or 3 as a part of your team, and you're not under another umbrella organization, are you? Caldwell or any of those, right? It's your own brokerage.
That's right. Yeah, it's called Teifke Real Estate.
Right. That's impressive. Like a lot of people will set up their real estate, but they're operating under a bigger broker, someone that kind of holds the license and gives them that brand name. But you have your own name on all of your own projects and communities and houses that you are representing.
Yeah, man, it's a blessing. I've been working as hard as possible.
Nice.
I'm 35. I started when I was 18, and I still talk to 50 to 100 people a day. I'm
Wow.
shutting it down right now for 2 to 3 days, and I just started really doing the Sabbath, if you're familiar, where we're taking off like Friday to Saturday, and I'm just not
Yes.
working at all.
Yeah.
So you go through different phases of life, and I'm always trying to learn, man. Like I'm like, all right, I'm asking everybody, and I'll ask you this here or another time. I'm like, from 35, it's like I feel like I've seen life, I've experienced, I've had money and lost it and had it. I've had respect and lost it. I've been a bad partner. I've had bad partnerships. Like I've gone through it. I'm like, is there something else that's going to happen from 35 to 45 or 55? I'm like, what do I need to know? Or have I seen enough?
Right.
So I just always thinking that way.
It's interesting, and we won't talk about that in detail here, but you go through these evolutions, and each one is just a new phase. And right when you think you have everything mastered, you learn something new and different, and you think, I thought I already kind of knew what to expect, and you didn't. So
Right.
life is just this continuous learning process at every single phase. And it sounds like your kids are young, and that'll take you to a whole nother phase when they start to go to college and you start to see them as young adults. That's a major, and then you become an empty nester and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I have even more time. Now what do I do? You thought you were working hard already between the business and the family, and then things change and you find yourself working even more. You didn't realize you could work that much more, right?
Yeah, that's good, man. I love it.
What's your next big transition other than expanding the pool business? Do you have a game plan for both of those entities? Are you looking to acquire even more properties? Are you looking to branch out?
Yeah, we're always trying to grow, always trying to, find new people that I can mentor and, people to mentor me as well. Yeah, I'd like to we were studying, man, this is random fact, but my partner, his name's Darian, and he's like, who's the largest pool cleaning company in the country? And they just so happen to be in Austin, Texas. Like, wow, interesting. They got 45,000 pools. So we want to grow that, and we're like, all right, let's study and see what they do. And
Yeah.
that's Darian leading it, and I'm supporting it. And then we're about to close on a 294 unit apartment in Austin. That'll
Very
be
nice.
good.
Very
Like
nice.
to buy 3 to 5 of those deals a year, and constantly need new people to see what we're doing and invest with us.
Sure.
And
Well,
then
and that's a good point. So if you don't mind, don't lose what you were getting ready to say. I was going to ask you this question though, and a lot of people they want to probably try to figure out how did you create the capital for all of those acquisitions? Now, are you self-funding it through leveraging prior purchases, or are you bringing in investors? Without giving too much detail strategically, but how does that work for you, and how do you scale that volume?
yeah, I'm genuinely very open book with everything. Like, there's nothing I try to hold back. It's been a grind. Like you said earlier, I was in Miami, I was in New York, and it all just takes time. I think one of the misconceptions that people have in real estate is you always hear, find the deal, find the money. And I just don't believe that that's true. You got to be constantly making connections because it's hard. And people are investing in people they know, like, and trust.
Right.
Like,
Agreed.
we're not sitting around just analyzing deals all day saying, as much as we think we might be, we're not saying, I want to make a 12% instead of a 10. And, that's not how we think. Like, we want to invest in a story and people. And that's where people give you their capital to invest in you.
Absolutely.
And so I've been capital raising for 3 years, and I think 10 times better than I was 3 years ago. And for example, like, I barely even pitch at all, where I used to be like, I got this great deal, this great opportunity. And like, nobody likes that. But I was trying my best because we needed to figure out how to get the capital. So, man, it's just been one thing after another. Like I was telling you, everybody matters. Every connection matters. You never know where something can flourish from seeds that you're planting. Just in the last 2 weeks, man, all of a sudden I've gotten plugged in professional athletes out of nowhere.
Nice.
Like, one guy played for the Patriots, and, I've been talking to him for 3 years, and now he's introducing me to 3 to 4 people a day, it seems like. And then on the flip side, I got this guy in basketball, and I'm like, wow, and it's like, it just, maybe it's find the deal, find the money 25 years in after you put everything you had into it, and then you can get it. But just constantly going to events. I do all kinds of things online. I teach free classes, and I'm just trying to, what I say, just give away the value and I use this term, reckless value add. Just give it all away.
Right.
And just see what happens.
It's interesting because I think people try to monetize every part of everything. And it sounds like yours is a little different. You certainly, as you mentioned earlier, you have bills to pay and you want to build a good business. But in the end, it's that partnership creation where you're not necessarily asking everyone for something. You're just building the rapport and you're building that trust, as you mentioned. And from that, deals are happening, it sounds like. Right, Matt?
Man, so I haven't fully fleshed out this idea, but we use money as a form, currency to trade. But value that I add to you is a currency, especially if it's with the right people. Like, if I bring you value, Ronnie, you want to bring me back value.
Yep. Want to reciprocate it. Yep.
And it's like, I think that's lost because the dollar has gotten in the way of it. But we can just bring people value, and value comes back, right?
Right.
And it's like now there's a lot of people that are reaching out to me that want to help me with AI or marketing, and they're just doing it for free.
Nice.
And then I'm now, introducing them to people and being a testimony, and I'm bringing it right back to them. And it's like a little bit, there's trust. It's got to be with the right people. But with them coming to me and saying, hey, it's going to cost $5,000 to do this, it's hard for me to take action and to really understand what's possible with that 5,000. Right. Versus if they just come do it, then I just do it back. And it's like, man, is the dollar irrelevant? I know that's crazy, but value transacting is a real thing that I think is overlooked. And it's not,
That's true.
it's like spiritual. And like you said, it's hard to sit back and think, if I make this connection, like, how am I going to get compensated? Or,
Right.
it's hard. You have to fight through that.
You do.
But I believe it's I believe it's the godly way to go about it.
I agree with you. That I speak to people as well about the concept of bartering, but it's exactly what you mentioned. And then that premise of bartering is figuring out how you can collaborate. So I might give you my service. If I am a marketing expert, I'll give it to you. You're the real estate guy. So you might give me some real estate ideas. I'm giving you marketing. And that's what it is. But they use the term bartering, but it's really just having that exchange of information that doesn't include a dollar. Like, how can we continue to help one another grow in our areas of expertise or interest? So you're right on. And a lot of people lose it because they want to exchange money before they have that opportunity to partner and barter and figure out how we can collaborate.
Yeah, exactly. And if you do it with the right people, it's like, you or me to each other or to someone else, like, there could be one contact in our phone that we have that, monetarily is worth $2 million, right?
Sure.
But it only takes me 5 seconds to give it to you. And then you can return things and it's like, when we start getting into like, it's worth this and yours is worth this, it slows everything down. And a lot of times just puts a total halt on it.
Right. That's pretty amazing. You're quite a special person from that perspective because you get it. And so I appreciate you sharing that. Now, I want to talk about Trammell Crow, but before that, you mentioned earlier, and you kind of glossed over this as well, which is intriguing because I think we go through moments of challenge and then it becomes kind of history. And not that it's irrelevant, but we've moved on. And sometimes if a person is in their moment of challenge, it's important to hear kind of your story. But you mentioned having money and not having partnerships that went well and not went well. Kind of walk me through anything that you're willing to share on what that looks like, because people are going to look at you now and they're here. You have a successful real estate business. You have this great investment business. You're expanding into pools and you've got apartments. You have 100, but they don't see the struggle side. What can you tell that person that's going through their moment of transition or struggle and they're trying to find their path?
Man, well, I can tell from my side. So I lost $4 million of my own money on one publicly traded stock. And it was tough, man. Like, I was trying to do the right things.
Yep.
I was working really hard. I was doing more than anybody I know, my mindset was like at 18, 19, 20, I'm sitting there like, I don't want anybody in the world to be doing more than I am in real estate right now.
Right.
All right, 21, nobody, 20, that's how I was thinking. And I wasn't and I was doing good. I was making money, but I wasn't buying Ferraris or Lamborghinis and, multi-million-dollar houses. And I don't have any judgment on that, but that's not what I was maybe going to do that later. Who knows?
Sure.
But I was trying to do the right things. I invested in one company that I believed in, that I studied, that I read the filings, and it literally went to zero.
Wow.
And I never ever took that into account. I mean, this company was doing, $250 million in revenue. They were profitable. I went to the stores and I just never considered zero.
Right.
So it went to zero over probably a 3 or 4 year period. I was losing like 30,000, 50,000, 80,000 a day, 20,000. I'm like, and I'm getting like depressed and mentally paralyzed because I'm like, man, all these good things are going on in real estate. This had nothing to do with real estate and it just went to zero. And so I was just at a low, man. Like, I felt like a failure from one decision. And, I was like, man, at any given time, if I needed 20 grand, 30 grand, 50 grand, I could just sell a little stock.
Right.
When that goes to zero, I'm like, dude, I don't know. Like, I need $5,000 right now. And I haven't, felt this way in 7 years. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do.
That's hard.
Yeah. So, but man, I just really learned a lot. I got closer to God. I learned what matters. I had this like internal thing that I had to make money to be somebody of value. And what I learned is that's never true. And the value that I can bring to people, or hopefully will bring to people, will never be about dollars, because that's not even a real value to give somebody.
Right.
So, man, that was just, I believe it made me such a healthier, better leader in so many ways. And it's easy to say like, money doesn't bring happiness if you've probably never like had a lot and lost it, or if you don't like truly feel this, but it's true. And I'm just so blessed, dude, every day to be doing what I'm doing. That doesn't matter. What matters is I'm pushing forward. I didn't give up. And as you study, I mean, even Trammell, Trammell went through it in a way that probably none of us can fully understand, because you don't share these things. And so what I'm led to is sharing and giving insight and recognizing that everybody matters and everybody has a story. And really the hope and faith is in Jesus.
Right.
And that's what we need. And so I'm trying to preach that the best way I can, of like, I've been through it, brother.
Yep.
And it doesn't even matter. Like, you're still here. Let's be grateful and let's move forward.
Absolutely. So Conrad Hilton actually built, he had his first hotel in Texas, in Cisco, Texas, the Mobley, I believe it was called. And then he had his first Hilton branded hotel, I believe, in downtown Dallas. And he went through something similar during his era. The market essentially collapsed and he had to sell his assets. He moved to California and had to nearly start over again in rebuilding the Hilton brand. You mentioned Trammell Crow. So Trammell Crow, when I think about Hilton, Conrad Hilton, and those pioneers in that era, Trammell Crow didn't name his hotel and his businesses, his locations or buildings for his name, but he built an incredible empire. And my understanding, having read a little about his bio, is that they describe it as growing up, they say rather impoverished, living in a one-bedroom rental house during his early childhood. So it's not like he came from super wealth, and he built and became what is described as the largest developer in the country back in the 70s and 80s. But tell me how you reached Trammell Crow, because you sound a lot like his vision and what he's gone through. And at one point, I know that he had some struggles as he was building his business. And what's also an interesting point that is quite fascinating about Trammell Crow is that he was an officer in the Navy, but he didn't have a college degree, but he was commissioned as an officer because of his expertise as a CPA, which is just rather fascinating. But he had like you, he had that mindset, like, I am determined to do well. And he went on. But how did you reach Trammell Crow?
The book, man.
Yeah.
I got this book right here, and there's this web. Have you ever seen the web?
Yes. So real quick, the book is Trammell Crow, Master Builder by Robert Sobel.
Yeah. And here's this web.
I love it.
Everybody that was tied and connected to Trammell. And I just love, we talked about this a little bit, but from the real estate world that I'm in, which is not so much the corporate, big brands, and the corporate and the big brands, everybody knows about Trammell, but these entrepreneurs, nobody talks about him.
Yes.
And I think it's a sad thing, because he has so many cool principles. Like one of the things that's so simple, but as he was doing the partnerships, his number one rule, the first thing he would look for when he wanted to know, am I going to do a partnership here? Are they nice? And it's just so simple, but to me profound. It's like, is this a nice person?
Right.
And man, like, there's so many things that we can learn from his approach, and probably also learn and do better. Because, I mean, he was just going. Like, he just was running and gunning, and he was a leader, man. And,
He was. So, Matt, I'm going to stop you there. Don't lose where you are in thought, but because so many people might not know him, especially outside of the real estate circles, at the height of his real estate empire, they said he had stake in approximately 8,000 properties across the United States. Forbes magazine listed him as the largest private landlord in the United States in 1971, and then he was recognized in the congressional record as the largest developer. But he built an absolutely amazing organization that was the largest in that space. And so, continue telling us more, because I agree with you that people, as they study all the big names and the big business names in the United States, the Rockefellers and the Hiltons and the Marriotts and all the different families, he should be up there in some of that conversation, right?
Man, yeah. As far as I know, like, impact on amount of people in a massive way, like it'd be hard to compete with him. And if we all operated like that, like, man, it would be special. But he had 641 partnerships, and I read recently what he was getting into politics, and like, I've always wanted to get into politics. He was when JFK got assassinated, he was heading to an event that Trammell Crow was leading, that Trammell Crow was speaking at. Like
Most people don't realize that. That's where the president was headed, to spend time with Trammell Crow. Yes.
Golly, man. And
Right.
nobody, I just don't think many people know about Trammell.
Right. And the way they described him, they described him as an extraordinary creativity, modesty, boundless energy, and intense work ethic. But he was generally private. He wasn't seeking stardom. He was just seeking to do exceptionally well. So again, as I mentioned, he didn't have his name on all these buildings, but he's one of the most prolific real estate builders and developers in the history of the United States, right?
Yeah. And I watched an interview with him, and somebody said, what was the single thing that led to your success? And he said, love.
Okay.
Man. And so it's just a different perspective on some of these things he said. And maybe you'll help me track this down one day, but I heard that there's a poem that he wrote, and I want to find it.
Okay.
But there's a poem somewhere that this guy mentioned on a podcast. But I'm very driven to carry on the mantle of Trammell the best way that I can.
Yes.
I want to have 641 partnerships at least, and I want to inspire other people to recognize that we don't have to be in competition. We can do more together. We can bring the value that we bring, and things can flourish. And I do believe that it's biblical of giving away your talents and not holding things back. Like it's just like I'm a dreamer reading about how he thinks and what he did, and resonating with the hard things that he went through, and having a name. And then when the market was crashing, man, there was probably tons of people talking negatively and wanting to see him fail, and he got through it, right?
He did.
And think about I think it's FDR or maybe Teddy, the men in the arena.
Yes.
Who did that quote?
Yes. Yes.
It's like, it's easy to judge from the outskirts, right? And I just respect guys like that and how they approach things. And I want to some part of me carry forward to where if he was around, he would be proud.
That's cool.
And know man, what you did had an impact on me, plenty of other people, but me too. And Trammell, here's what I went and did with that.
I love it.
I could just see how cool that would feel to him.
It would be. And it's neat to be able to study those people, because it gives us something to aspire to and work towards and understand. I'll end with this on Trammell Crow. So in addition to being the largest developer in the United States, he's also the founder of Wyndham Hotels. He didn't create it as Crow Hotels, it's Wyndham Hotels. And then he has his own properties that he built. He built a massive property in Dallas that is a large hotel and convention center that's incredibly huge. And so his legacy is continuing. And so what's fascinating, Matt, that is worth sharing, when you and I connected, I knew you from the real estate side, but I didn't realize that you studied him. And so it was neat hearing you talk about Trammell Crow. So I appreciate you sharing your thoughts on him and the book. So you've been buying copies of those books, and they're not cheap, by the way, the Trammell Crow book.
Yeah, man, I'm on the hunt to get all of them. Can I read this one quote from him?
Absolutely.
Okay, so he said, if I can distill anything from my experiences, it might be that it pays to go with the tide, and that fighting the generalized drift of history can prove a bumpy path. I wasn't about to do that, but at the same time, there was no master plan involved in the way I started out. Rather, it happened in a fairly simple fashion. And yes, I'm buying all these books. They're $250, $300. When one comes out, I'm trying to buy it. And I don't exactly know why, but I do, connecting with you makes it have some kind of meaning too.
Absolutely.
And I do plan to, they're not for me to hang on to. I want to give them out, but I want to do it in a very meaningful. I want people that are going to take this and utilize it. This is what happened. Somebody got it for me, and it was 10 years after I had already read it. And I had a signed copy by Trammell.
Wow.
And I left it at the airport.
Oh my gosh.
And it's gone. I just hope that somebody's using it, man. Wow. But then I just started buying all of them. I think I have 17. And if somebody ever finds one, I'm like, go get it for me. Buy it. Wow. But I want to give these back, but I want it to be meaningful. I'm not cool. This is a sacred book. I'm not just giving it to you to have it. Like, I need you to put this to use.
Yeah. Use it, understand it. Absolutely. So the only signed copy you had was at an airport somewhere.
Yeah. And then
That's a heartbreaker.
well, and I'd love to know the history of these, man, because I don't think there's that many of them.
Yes.
And I don't think they were that popular, but I've got some of them that like, there's people that wrote in them that knew him.
Oh,
And
wow.
there's these pictures on here and stuff. And like, one of them's like, it says like, that was my uncle or something. And I'm like,
That is cool.
I think this person was related to Trammell. Like, it was like, this is Uncle Tom or something like that.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
No, it's good to see your spirit in business and entrepreneurship and connecting with other leaders, because again, I think there's so much that we can harness from those that went before us. And you're embracing that piece. You're not running away from it. As sometimes kind of people run away from history that could help us continue to improve. And so I'm enjoying hearing you talk about it and the passion you have behind it, and helping to fuel your growth as a person, as a human, as a father, as a spouse, and as a business leader, which is really neat, Matt.
Thank you, man. Yeah, I love talking about it. And I just genuinely hope that we can revive the Trammell Crow spirit.
I love it. So before we end, though, I'd love to end on that note, but I'm not. Tell me about Grant Cardone, and you're creating your over 600 partnerships. So you're really living the Trammell Crow dream and message. But tell me about some of those partnerships, because you were on stage with them. How did that connection evolve, and what are you doing now?
So I won a TV show with Grant.
Okay.
He came to Austin, and it was called The Real Estate King. And I wasn't even, it just happened. Somebody told them to reach out to me, and I went on the show, and I ended up winning. And this was like 5 years ago, man. And so, Grant's a force. Like, I've never seen anybody like him. He's 70, I think 71 or 69. And I was just at an event with him, and he was up all day, every day, 5 days in a row in front of 1,000 people. But I've gotten to be able to, communicate. I won't say we're friends, but like, I can call him and text him, and I try to bring him value where I can. And Grant's done a lot of things for me that have really helped build me up.
Nice.
He's given me some really big connections when I needed it, that I'm not sure I would have got these things done, like these deals done, if I didn't have them.
Wow. Impressive.
So I'm in his community, and there's 1,300 people, and I speak up and I show up, and I try to lead. And, I started doing this class every Thursday at 1. I do this Zoom class, and 200 people will show up, and it's free. And it's every week. And we'll pray. Last week we had a guy doing some worship music. I had a professional basketball player come on, and you never know what you're going to get on these calls. But I'm just trying to take Trammell and learn from Grant and Kobe and, my uncles and my family. And I study the founding fathers. Like, just be a good American, man. Like, we are lucky to be here. We have been given so much, and there's nothing to complain about. There's just opportunity everywhere. And so Grant's been a part of that, helping build me up and, build me up within his community. And at the same time, like, man, it was so cool. I was on stage in front of 1,000 people, and I had multiple people come up to me, and they're like, we can tell that you're a Christian. We didn't even say anything, but we could just tell. And then I'm like, man, this is what I'm supposed to be doing at the end of the day. Just being a good steward, letting God flow through me, taking notes where I need to. But I feel so blessed that I'm hyper aware that I'm making an impact, and that it's not about me, but that I am doing the best I can, and that I'm on the right path. And I feel so grateful and blessed for that.
Well, Matt, it's been an absolute honor. You are definitely becoming the next Trammell, the next Grant. You're making an impact, and you're making a difference. And people that are listening to this podcast, one, they need to send it to every friend they know, whether or not they've started a business or building their career in an existing business. They need to share it, because there's so much to learn from what you're doing. They need to look you up. They need to support what you're doing. They need to partner with you. I'm impressed and intrigued, and I appreciate you being part of our program at Business Decoded.
I love being here, man. Thank you so much. I'm always here to help whoever this has an impact on. And Ronnie, thanks for the time. I really appreciate it.
So you have to come back. So we have to make sure that we stay connected, and you come back periodically to let people know what you're working on next.
Count me in, brother.
And the next time you're on stage, you invite me, because you're going to be the next one having 10,000 people come to a concert venue to hear you talk about business. I love it.
Glory to God.
Absolutely. Matt, thank you, buddy. So
Thank you,
partner
sir.
at TR3 Capital. He's changing the world of business through real estate, through his faith, through his family, through his connections. So make sure you follow us, share this podcast, and join us again for the next program. Matt, thanks again.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for joining us on the Business Decoded podcast with Ronnie Spellman. As I mentioned, make sure you like, you subscribe, that you become a part of the Business Decoded family.
Stay ahead of the curve. Subscribe right now. We will see you at the next episode.